What's going on, everyone? Trust the Buzz here. If you are new to the channel, I make Charlotte Hornets content. So if that interests you, make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. Sorry, my camera is charging and I did not want to wait. So we're doing a video like this. If you cannot tell by the thumbnail title of this video, in today's video, we're going to be talking about the Charlotte Hornets and how they played against the San Antonio Spurs. Specifically, only a couple of guys we're really here to talk about. Victor, Brandon Miller, James Nnaji. That's really it. I mean, I think that's kind of where it ends as far as this game, because it was not a pretty game as far as the Charlotte Hornets, but there was some good takeaways from the game. So let's go ahead and jump into that. Brandon Miller looked great. I think that's the first thing I want to talk about. Brandon Miller looked excellent. One thing about Brandon Miller that I already like is that his shot does not have to go down in order for him to have an impact on the game. We saw him play good defense. We saw him like Victor Wembanyama 7'3", 7'5". Brandon Miller was staying in front of him. That's all we can ask you to do, especially with that size, discrepancy. I think Brandon Miller just did a fantastic job with that. And there were some other things he did as well. He was switching over well. You could see he was directing guys well on offense and defense. I think that he was showing that he can be a leader. I like everything I saw from him, and that's something that the Charlotte Hornets need. We don't really have too many guys, and I know people are going to get mad when I say this, but we don't have really too many guys that their second skill set, like what we like, if they're not scoring, what are they doing? LaMelo, he's not somebody that's going to impact the defensive end. We know he can get steals. He plays the passing lanes very well, but his defense is not the best. His second thing, if he's not scoring, is playmaking. He's obviously one of the better playmakers in the league. Miles Bridges, if he's not scoring, I think it's just his pure athleticism, and the threat of him scoring is always a case. I think that's what his thing is. And he's not that bad of a perimeter defender. But what we saw with Brandon Miller tonight, he was doing everything. I saw him switch on to guards. I saw him switch over to Victor Wembanyama. I saw him switch over and get, box out and get rebounds. I mean, he had a double-double, 16-11, but his shot wasn't even falling. So, and I think also is that he had a lot of good passes. It's just the fact that they really weren't what you wanted them to be because of the fact that nobody was hitting them. I think if you look at the stats, you'll see 1 assist and you'll be like, why is he even talking about Brandon Miller passing the ball? There was a lot of times that I think he made the correct play. The other guy just didn't do what he needed to do with the ball. That's why I said it really wasn't too many shining moments in this game. But Brandon Miller, I think he is exactly what the Hornets need. It's going to be hard to ever just decide. Like, it's literally just summer league, but it's going to be hard to say who's better. This is something that you won't know the answer for years. Like, that's how it's supposed to be. Just even after one season, you can't tell. But I will say that I am very confident that in 2 to 3 years, you can have the debate whether Scoot or Brandon's better. But I think that you will not be able to ignore the fact that Brandon Miller truly is exactly what the Hornets needed. He is a summary of 2 to 3 things that the Hornets needed in one player. And I like that. I think that was a smart idea. As much as Charlotte Hornets fan, we just wanted talent because we have never seen a lot of talent on one roster at the same time. I think that this was a good move. And it's like I said, it's summer league. It's super hard to tell, but you could see that there's just a lot of upside to Brandon Miller. And I can't wait to see him play for the actual team, play with LaMelo, play with Miles, play with Mark even. I think about having Brandon Miller and Mark Williams in pick and roll defense. I think that Brandon Miller, we've seen him be able to switch down. We've seen him switch up. Mark Williams does a good job of being able to switch and stay in front of guards. I'm not going to sit here and say guards, but stay in front of guards. I'm just very excited. After that, we can really just go into rapid fire because a lot of these things were, the game wasn't good. Nick Smith Jr. did not look good at all. I think he was really good in his mid-range. I still think they have him playing out of position, still had him playing a lot of point guard. But as far as him doing what he does, I mean, it wasn't that bad. His mid-range shot was hitting, I guess. I mean, he only had 2 shots, but both of them were like deep mid-ranges. James Bouknight, I have no idea. There's no words for what James Bouknight is doing. Bryce McGowan looked a little better, even though I still think there was a lot of times he was selfish and trying to take it over people. But I wanted him to be more aggressive. This is kind of the aggressive I was kind of hoping for. The past 2 games, I think he was just being selfish and not really aggressive. This is kind of more of that line I was looking for from Bryce McGowan's. James Nnaji, who I really want to talk about, is just a beast. I think he can. I don't know how the Charlotte Hornets are going to do it, but if James Nnaji puts it together, and I know you can say that for a lot of players, but if James Nnaji can put it together, this man might be the best center on the team. He's just that good, man. He knows his game. I think he just has to fill it out. Like, he knows what kind of player he is. He knows what kind of player he is going to be. Like, he knows his career path. I think it's just putting the skill there to reach that potential, because James Nnaji is just an incredible player. I've seen he was doing wonders on Victor Wembanyama. So I'm really excited for James Nnaji and what's going forward with him. And Kai Jones just has such a long way to go. Kai Jones has such a long way to go. Good thing for him that basketball has a lot to do with athleticism, because I feel like in other sports, baseball, football, and it's just off the top of my head, soccer even, you can be extremely athletic, but it really will only get you so far. Basketball, I think athleticism can do a lot for you in basketball. So I think that's why Kai looks better than what he is. But as far as like we just watching him play, it just looks rough. It just looks rough. But he has all the athleticism and physical tools available to him. I say this time and time again, but it's just so true. He has all the physical tools available to him. He's just got to put it together. But once he puts it together, if he ever puts it together, it will be a scary sight, because I think Kai Jones he can do it all. He literally can do it all. It's just he's trying to do it all, but without refining even one part of his game. I think that's kind of the misstep with Kai. Amari Bailey looked pretty good. I think he's probably the better out of like the guards we have right now trying to play point guard. He looks the best. And not to say Nick Smith Jr. doesn't look good, because I think Nick Smith Jr. was pretty good as well, showing other things like defense, and I mentioned that earlier. But overall, I think Amari Bailey will probably be the best bet. But I think the Hornets came out to play. They just couldn't make shots. I think that's ultimately what it came down to. But they were aggressive. It wasn't too many mishaps that we've seen in the previous two games. I think everybody knew kind of their role. Brandon Miller had a lot more plays ran for him. He was able to have the ball in his hand, and good things happened for the most part. I mean, like I said, there were still guys who weren't hitting their shots, even though he would pass, giving them the ball, and they would be open, or they wouldn't even take the shot. So that's something that's going to, fix itself, obviously, when he's on the real roster. But I mean, I think, would you look at Brandon Miller and I think you can even look at the stats and say that he had a pretty decent game outside of shooting. But even if you didn't look at the stats and just actually watch the game like you're supposed to, you would walk away with a lot of great impressions of Brandon Miller. And I think that we saw a lot of like bits and pieces that we saw in games 1 and 2. We saw it all come together game 3. And I like that he rose to the occasion. He was like, I'm going against Victor. I gotta show everybody why I was the number 2 pick. And I think he did that. I mean, it's summer league. Not everybody's just gonna hit. It just is what it is. I mean, I'm not worried about it. I'm really not even worried about stats. I'm worried about what I saw. And I saw a lot of good things from Brandon Miller tonight.